Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to Live with Main Street. It's Jim Ludwig and
Anna Serguina. Hi, Jim.
hi, Anna, and welcome everybody to Main Street Financial Planning. We're going to be talking today about education funding. In fact, that's our theme for the whole month, and on Money Library and on our website, you'll be seeing blogs and interviews and articles, and this video talking about how do you save for education. Mostly it's going to be college savings. Anna, why don't you get started?
Yes, and that's something that a lot of our clients worry about, right, Jim? There's always this conflicting thoughts about, okay, what should we focus on? And college definitely is one of the goals we have to help our clients save for. And as we all know, it's not exactly cheap in this country to go to college. So there's a lot of work we have to do. I wanted to start by talking about the three biggest mistakes we see parents make when they're thinking about saving for college or just kind of getting on that path. So the very first one is not starting to save early enough. And is Jim, you remember when we used to volunteer / work for Maryland 529 plan, right? Used to go around to schools and various fairs and introduce this concept of here's a vehicle where you can save, and the idea start saving earlier, right? Because for that reason, you have time, right? And as we know that the cost of college is gigantic, and if you start saving earlier, the time is on your side. So I wanted to share just maybe like a couple of numbers to put it in perspective, because when we say start early, it's like, okay. So here's an example. And we were just doing some numbers with Jim before we jumped on this recording. So for example, the cost of going to one of the UCs here in California, UC Santa Barbara, UC Santa Cruz, of one of those schools, is today is $32,000 per year. Okay, and so if you just had a baby and you're thinking that that's where they're going to end up, so we have 18 years to go, right? And so we advocate if you start right now, that's a lot of time for you to not only save, but use the market, the stock market, the bond market, the real estate market, whatever it is, to give you the returns. So here's some comparisons. So if you started today, and let's say you were really hopeful that your child could work a little bit, have a part-time job, get a scholarship, so your cost would be maybe $25,000 per year. So we need 4 years of that. So if we start today, that's $734 per month that we need to save for 18 years. If you wait 5 years, Jim, do you remember the number? It almost doubles.
Exactly, because it's compounding, Anna. And exactly. For our viewers, you've got to take advantage of compounding by starting as early as you can.
Yes. So how can you, so if you have 2 children or 3, right, can you afford $1,200 or even $700 a month just to go for college-related expenses? And that brings me to our point number 2, which is another big mistake that families make, is that they're not saving at all, right? They look at these numbers and say, oh my gosh, I just can't do it. I've got to focus on retirement, right? Or maybe even not that. So Jim, I want you to talk about this topic a little bit more.
Well, I just wrote a blog this past week on the major conflict, probably the most frequent conflict we see with our married clientele that have kids or are thinking about kids. It's the conflict between saving for retirement and saving for college. Those numbers that you just mentioned are big numbers, but also saving for retirement is a big number too. And so how can parents resolve that conflict? Well, there's a couple of ways they can do it. One is, and we usually encourage our clientele to mostly save for retirement, because you can finance education, you cannot finance your retirement. So you really need to make that the top priority, and sometimes you have to have some trade-offs. The biggest trade-off that we have seen is parents end up working longer because they're paying for college, and then they have to save like heck for retirement, and they have a much shorter time period, and the compounding isn't as great. The other way that you can do it, and remember I said you can finance this, one of the ideas that I got from Cheryl Garrett, our mentor and the founder of the Garrett Planning Network, was to tell your kids that if they're an A student, you, the parents, will pay off their loans. If they're a B student, you'll pay off 75% of their loans. If they're a C student, you'll pay off half their loans. And if they're a D student or they fall out of college, drop out, whatever, then the loans are theirs. That's kind of draconian in a way, but it is sort of the carrot and stick opportunity that people can use with their kids if they want. Now, I didn't have that opportunity to do that, and I'm not sure I would, but it is one strategy. Another strategy that I promote all the time is to, if you're thinking about getting pregnant or you are pregnant and you know there's a baby on the way, why not tell everybody that you've already set up the 529 plan wherever? If you're in a state with a tax deduction, we usually recommend that one, but there's only 17 states that have it. So we usually recommend Utah or Nevada or California or New York as alternatives where there is no tax deduction. And tell them, just make the check out to the Utah 529, for example, rather than buy you baby gifts, because relatives really respond positively to setting up the college fund early because they too know how expensive it is. So that's a couple of tips to overcome that conflict, Anna.
Yes, that's great. And you know, it was actually very interesting that when my brother had his daughter, she's 2 now, and my dad got really excited about having a granddaughter. And so I did not get enough time to actually have this discussion with him, right? And say, hey, you know, Dad, this is a great idea. You don't need to buy any toys for her. So he came up first to me and said, I want to save for college, because he came out with the experience having to pay for my college and my brother's. So he was burned by the experience, saying, I'm going to help them, you know, as a grandparent, do it sooner enough. So he gets really excited now. And we just had her birthday last month, and he was like, are you going to put any money in the 529? Don't buy her any toys.
That is so fun. And as my financial planner, you know what I'm doing for my grandkids.
Yes, I do. I know. And that's why I can help you continue working, so you can continue saving for all of them, right? Because it is tough. We talked about the numbers. So yeah. And I have one more point to make, because I think it really does tie into the toughness of why it's, you know, how can you actually use the returns in the market, right? And various markets to help you. And so the mistake is that a lot of times, parents play what we call safe, or they use improper investments to save, right? Even within those 529 plans, because there are lots of choices, right? You can go from very conservative like CDs and savings, savings accounts, all the way to having a diversified portfolio. So it's actually interesting enough that there was a study done by Sally May in 2015. It's called How America Saves for College, and it points out that majority of families go for the low risk, low return options. I'm not sure why, but because maybe they're not understanding how and what, and not thinking about the time, right? So if we have 18 years to go until we're gonna need the money, we better put it to work. And thank God for these target date funds, right? Or they're in the space of 529 plans, they're called age-based options. So look at when your child is going to college and pick a fund that's gonna be around the same year. So for example, if your child is 5 today, so we have 13 years to go, then we need to be looking when there's a list of age-based options. We need to be looking at something that maybe is sunsetting or due, and that has to do with how the portfolio will shift for being really aggressive and having more stock component to bonds and cash, so that when they're due to withdraw from that account, it's safer, right? So it's not going to go down in value like it did for many of our clients in 2008. So like it would be around 2030 or 2032. And then again, that compounding that Jim mentioned and higher returns, that what helps not only with fulfilling the full goal that you have, but it's like you don't have to save yourself as much. So if we have time, I strongly advocate for using the market to give you those returns. So I hope, Jim, you have in your 529 plans those age-based options. I'm sure you do. I'm just checking.
Yes, Anna. You should know that. You looked over my plan. You should know that.
Right. I did. Yes, I need to have you save more. I guess that's the goal. I should talk to your kids.
Well, just before this videotaping took place, I was on FaceTime with 4 out of my 5 grandkids. So they are important to me. Love is a great motivating factor. Take care of yourself first for retirement, and then engage as many people as possible in helping you save for college for your kids or grandkids.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, good, Jim. I think that's all we've got for today. Let us know if you guys have questions. Definitely, this is a fun topic. So we'll be blogging, doing articles, doing videos all month. So not September. Oh my gosh, August. It's only August, Anna. August is a month of talking about education funding. All right, Jim. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.